Under the glow of an artificial sun illuminating the dome that covered humanity's last city, Liana took a deep breath as she stood on the balcony of the High Research Center. The air inside the dome was meticulously filtered, but Liana knew it was as artificial as the rest of life within it. Behind her, long tables filled with screens and advanced devices hummed softly, data streaming continuously through the systems. Yet her mind was preoccupied with the strange signal she had intercepted the day before. The signal had been brief, a series of recurring waves with mathematical precision, as if it were a cry coming from outside the dome. Signals from the outside world were rare, ever since humanity had enclosed itself in domes centuries ago. Electromagnetic storms that had ravaged the Earth in recent decades made it impossible to send or receive any type of communication. Yet this signal was different. It was clear, deliberate, almost like a purposeful attempt to communicate. Liana, a researcher specializing in cosmic data analysis, was adept at identifying patterns and seeking signs of intelligent life beyond the dome. While she believed the outside world had become barren and desolate, a small part of her never stopped hoping there was more to existence than what they knew. That night, when the research labs were nearly deserted, Liana sat before her screen, analyzing the signal for the 20th time. There was a repeating pattern in the frequencies that suggested a form of primitive language or code. What puzzled her most was the source of the signal. When she pinpointed its approximate coordinates, she discovered it originated from a region known as the Silent Ocean, a vast expanse beyond the dome where no activity had been recorded for centuries. Liana decided to keep her discovery private for the time being, unsure how to interpret it for her team. If the signal was genuine, it could be the greatest discovery in human history since retreating into the domes. If not, it could lead to professional disgrace. Yet she couldn't ignore the growing curiosity burning inside her. In the days that followed, Liana noticed the signal repeating at precise intervals, indicating it wasn't a natural occurrence. Each transmission seemed to wait for a response. Using her advanced equipment, she attempted to send back a simple reply but received no answer. Still, there was something about the signal that made her feel as though something alive was waiting. As days passed, strange occurrences began to unfold. The devices in her lab started malfunctioning inexplicably. Data became corrupted, and most unsettling of all, she felt a constant, eerie sensation of being watched. At first, Liana thought she was becoming obsessed with the signal, to the point of imagining things. But then she began hearing faint whispers late at night, barely audible, as if the walls themselves were speaking. One night, determined to confront her fears, Liana delved into the center's archives for any records relating to the Silent Ocean. She discovered that the area had once been the site of a failed scientific experiment centuries ago. The experiment aimed to harness cosmic energy through a quantum gateway, but it ended in catastrophe. Old reports mentioned entire teams of scientists disappearing and unexplained physical disturbances. Despite the clear warnings, Liana decided to take a bold step. She requested permission to use a small reconnaissance craft, typically reserved for exploring the dome's perimeter. Her first journey beyond the dome was fraught with tension. The storm-laden skies flashed sporadically, and the land below was eerily silent. Then, unexpectedly, she saw it, an old metallic tower that seemed to be the source of the signal. As her craft approached the tower, its instruments displayed abnormal readings. The tower was surrounded by a mysterious energy field. Against all caution, Liana decided to explore the tower on foot, aware that retreating now meant giving up on an opportunity that might never come again. Inside the tower, she found a room filled with ancient equipment still functioning inexplicably, as though shielded from the passage of time. At the center of the room stood a spherical device pulsing with faint light. When Liana touched the sphere, an electric current surged through her, and a holographic image appeared before her. It showed a strange face, not entirely human, that spoke in a language she couldn't comprehend. As she adjusted to the presence of this virtual being, the sphere began projecting other images. Vast cities thriving outside the dome, technology far beyond human imagination, and finally, what appeared to be a warning. Before she could decipher the message, the sphere went dark, and loud noises echoed from outside the tower. Rushing back to her craft, Liana found the energy field surrounding the tower had closed around her. Strange lights flickered in the sky, and a powerful sense of disorientation overwhelmed her. She realized she had become part of something far greater, something that might change the fate of humanity. Back in the dome, things were different. Streets were unusually empty, and the city lights flickered erratically. When she returned to the lab to analyze the data she had collected, she discovered her systems were completely compromised. The signal she had been tracking had vanished, and the center's entire network appeared to have suffered a massive digital attack. An emergency alarm blared throughout the dome. Rushing to the lab's window, Liana saw the dome's sky glowing ominously. Multicolored lights danced across its surface, accompanied by muffled cries resonating through the metallic structures. Residents poured into the streets, staring at the unnatural phenomenon consuming the sky. This was no ordinary electromagnetic storm. Something alive seemed to be attempting to breach the dome. The lights converged at a single point, forming a massive vortex. At its center, a semi-material entity pulsing with energy began to emerge. Summoned by the Council of Scientists, Liana found herself in the main conference room, where tension was palpable. Surveillance monitors displayed the entity taking shape above the dome. "What's happening?" one of the leaders demanded, directing his gaze at Liana. "Does this have anything to do with the signal you mentioned?" Liana confessed everything. About the signal, the tower, and the hologram she had encountered. The room was divided between those who saw her as a brave scientist, uncovering a critical secret, and those who blamed her for potentially endangering humanity. As debates raged, a strange voice interrupted them. It emanated from the dome's speakers, but there was no identifiable speaker. Instead, it was a series of unintelligible words, eerily similar to the language Liana had heard in the tower. Then the lights went out across the dome, plunging the city into an unnatural darkness. Shadows began moving on the horizon, vaguely humanoid, but clearly not human. The rest of the events unfolded as a turning point for humanity, culminating in the realization that the signal wasn't a threat but a warning, and a chance to connect with something far greater than themselves. Liana became the bridge between her people and the unknown, initiating a new chapter of cosmic exploration, cooperation, and understanding.